back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, Kaitlyn Wolfe, the founder of Iconic by Kaitlyn Wolfe, is with us. In just a few short years, Kaitlyn took her business from a solo weekend side hustle to an award-winning design build firm with more than 15 employees. At one point, adding a new employee each month for a full year. And she isn't done yet. Kaitlyn has an MBA, her general contractor's license, and is the principal designer at Iconic. And check this out. She isn't even 30 years old yet. I mean, insane, right? Driven by passion, instinct, and grit, Kaitlyn is here to share her experience with rapid growth and what she has learned and is still learning along the way. She has taken some risks, but trust me, she isn't just winging it. Kaitlyn continues to lay the foundation for success every step of the way by working with a mentor, a business coach, and of course, systems and process, as well as a willingness to be flexible within those systems and processes. Today, Kaitlyn is going to give us some perspective and insight into what really this looks like, right? Building at this pace. And she's also going to share some actionable steps that you can take to duplicate, to use to scale your business and grow your team with intention when the time is right for you. Hi, Kaitlyn. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I have to tell you, Kaitlyn, like you're excited. I'm sorry. You're 29 years old. You took your business full time in 2019 and you have a team of 15 and growing. My brain is exploding right now. Legit exploding. And I'm thinking, oh, what have I done with my entire life?
I'm asking myself the same thing.
Oh my gosh. I mean, my God, at 29, I'm like, okay, let's be a good salesperson. That's what I was trying to do at 29. Oh my goodness. It's amazing for me. And I'm so excited to get into this conversation. So I'm going to get our colleagues out there up to speed. You shared a little bit with me off air, and I just want to get us up to speed. 2016, you are in the field part-time. 2019, you decide that's it. I'm going out on my own in March of 2019. By that summer, you hire your first employee who was your client. That's cute and funny. We'll maybe get to that if that's relevant, right? Then the following spring, she leaves on maternity leave. You hire two more. COVID hits. By the following year, for the next year, you add one employee a month for 12 months. That's beyond my comprehension. So talk to me, where in that, because there's 1,000 things that I want to ask you, but where in that does that your brain go to the first thing? Well, hey, let me explain this part to you.
Yeah. Well, so like you said, I created the company in 2016, and honestly, I just feel like I was working so hard from 2016 to that March of 2019 of just like growing a portfolio and just honestly working as much as I possibly could and building relationships. I was networking. And so I feel like, by March of 2019, I wasn't like, okay, how do I go get business? Like I had people reaching out to me, and because I still had a full-time job, I was having to either I wasn't turning anyone down at that point, but I was basically like, here's my availability. I can meet you at, 5:30 p.m. or on a weekend. And it got to the point that some people that were reaching out to me, they were becoming more high profile, and they were like, I don't want to hire, someone doing a side gig. And
Mm.
so for me, it was like a light bulb. I was like, okay, now I'm actually missing out, And so I also felt like the company that I was working for, I was bringing them so much value, and I felt like I was kind of like ready, just like mentally too, that there were just so many things that they were doing that I saw that could be done better. And of course, because my, book of business was really starting to grow, I just figured, if I just need to figure out how to pay just myself, like I'll figure it out.
Okay.
So,
I don't know. You told me you listened to the show. I don't know if you remember the Nate Berkus show. I reference it a lot because you just
hmm
said the same thing he said. He was just
hmm
like, look, I make $750 a week. All I have to do is make $750. And if I can do that, I can be in business. You
yes,
just,
that was literally all I thought. And because I had a full-time job and that I was growing it on the side, any money I had made with my company was just sitting there. I wasn't doing anything with it. I wasn't spending it. Like it was just sitting there. So I had some money saved up, but so I figured, okay, I have at least this saved up. And so if I literally make no money, I'll still be okay for, however many months. And
mm,
so, but I knew I'm like, I'm not going to not make money. Like, and so I just figured, yeah, I can do this. So,
okay. And that job that you were at until that point, you were working for a general contractor, right?
yeah.
And so that had to be an incredible place to cut your teeth. Am I
Oh
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I fell in love with construction. Prior to working for the construction company, I did work for an interior design firm, and she was also a licensed architect. So I had basically, been in the environment of a small firm, but a firm that had been around for 20 years. So I was working on really high-end custom homes and restaurants doing interiors. And then we had architects in the firm, so I was kind of seeing that side of things. And then I worked for the general contractor. So I just felt like my knowledge was really well-rounded.
And doing that, I mean, not everybody is going to come out and spend a stint working with a general contractor or an architect slash designer, but talk to us a little bit about it. If you were working or not working, if you were just sitting and talking with some designers that are maybe just going to graduate out of design school or whatever, would you be like, I definitely think spend a year here, or it worked for me, it may not work for you, it's not that impactful? Where's that at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's so many different like niches in design and so many different types of projects, and I feel like everybody has different goals. I just, for some reason, I felt like I wanted to know how things were built, so that way when I was designing them, I could just understand that side too. So I personally think it's a huge I think it could help anyone, no matter what, I guess, no matter what part of design you go into. I think just having more of the construction knowledge is super important. I think it helps you collaborate with builders more. I think it just helps you be a better designer. So, and I think you just learn so much about, cabinetry design and materials, and not only, of course, how they're going to look, but also how they get installed. And it also helps you know more about pricing of, labor and materials. And so I think it's definitely helpful.
Hmm. And at what point did you go on to get your own general contracting license? Was it before you left and started your own firm, or did you do that after while you had gone out on your own?
I did that after I had gone out of my own.
And what is that like? What does that actually mean? We say that all the time. Oh, I'm going to go for my GC. Is that like
hmm
3 night classes and you're done? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure every state is different, but in Arizona, there were basically two exams. One was the business exam, one was the trade exam. And the business exam was pretty straightforward. And I do have my MBA, so I feel like that was pretty simple for me. The trade exam was a little bit more complex, just because there's just so much detail. And honestly, I just think the whole process of it, the exam center, the questions they give you during the practice exams, and then the actual questions on the exams did not at all match each other. And so that was, I think, the most frustrating thing for me, was just that I felt like everything I was doing to prepare for the exam was just completely different than what was on the exam.
Is there a
So
study like is there a class, or is it just here's the book and study and take the test, or are there like when
yeah.
you get a certificate in design, even if you don't choose to get a 4-year degree in design, there's a
Mhm.
curriculum and there's a test at the end. Is this not like that?
So it was not an organized curriculum at all. at least, how I did it, I basically had to just voluntarily go down to the exam center in downtown Phoenix. I had to sit at a computer in a cubicle in a room from, the 80s that hasn't been touched, at this old dusty computer, and with the like 7 textbooks that are like 3 inches thick, and sit there and answer practice questions. And I couldn't take any material home, and I could only go Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Whoa.
It was the worst
So it's
thing.
like a self-study. So you look at the question, it says,
Yes.
how does the, plumbing roughing get
Yeah.
installed? And then you go in the book and you look it up, and then you go and put the answer in the computer.
Yes, but I wish the questions were like actually like that, because they were not.
I mean, do you think, like, you come from many years experience working for a general contractor? Is it
Mhm.
possible somebody could be an adequate general contractor by just doing that process? Like, I don't know that I want somebody to build my house that did it
No.
like that. That doesn't sound like it's not very confidence inspiring.
No, I learned absolutely nothing in the trade exam. It was just like memorization of things that, I mean, it also depends on what kind of, general contracting that you do. Like we only do remodels. So there were a lot of things that were, just not related to even what we do. And so I feel like I was just trying to almost just like, pass the system, and that was it.
Mm.
Like I didn't feel like I was actually learning anything. I think I learned more in the business exam, just because there was just more about like, what you should include in your contracts, or that kind of thing. Like I found that just more interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
It took me a few times.
Okay. Okay. So that's actually very interesting to know. And of course, as you preface it by saying, we have no idea if it's done differently in different states. Different
Yeah.
states might have an actual, I don't know, something that you teach somebody.
Yeah. And I had a mentor, who kind of told me what to do. He was like, go here and sign up for that. And so I literally did what he told me. I didn't like research, all that. Maybe there's other exam centers that were better, or maybe there were online things that you could do, in addition, but I just did it that way. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I'm sure everyone has a little bit of a different
Right.
experience.
And by the way, it wasn't, just to put the top of on this part of the conversation. It's not like this was the exposure to general contracting and now you went out and we were doing quotes. Your actual learning was in the field, and this was
Oh
just
yeah.
documenting so that you could then
Hmm.
be called a contractor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to pass the exams. You have to get, a certain score. If you fail, a certain number of times, you have to wait 6 months to retake it. Then you have to submit references, and yeah, all that fun stuff. You have to get a bond. You have to have a company, obviously. So
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So now let's move back to hiring a person a month for 12 months. I mean,
yeah.
what was like when I think about doing that, part of me
Hmm.
feels like, okay, I wonder, was there a vision? And was the
Hmm.
vision, these are the next 4 people I need? But then when they came, it was like, oh, okay, revise that vision. We need 4 more. Or was it just
Hmm.
take that person and then move on? Like, what level of preparedness and what level of forward planning did you do in this? And what level of it was just like, hey, I'm just trying to stay alive here and I need more bodies?
Yeah. I definitely was a combination of both, but I will be totally honest. I think at that time it was definitely like, we need more help. We have so many projects going on. Like we have processes that need to be improved. Like there's things that I know we could be doing better. I'm doing too many things. I'm working, 18 hours a day. And so that a lot of it was honestly that it was just like, just strategizing. Okay, if we had someone who could focus on this, or if I had help there. And it was kind of just like doing that. And something that I've learned about myself, because I feel like as a team too, we do like these predictive index
Mm.
tests where we like learn about, just how we are at work and what we need from a job and all that kind of thing. And one of my traits that's like off the chart is that I make decisions based on my gut.
Mm. What are you? Do you know what
And
your thing is? Your, maverick, scholar. Do you know what you are?
mine was a promoter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a super interesting test for the team. But so I learned that about myself is just like, and I feel like I talk to a lot of, other people that are asking me, how did you grow that fast? How did you scale? Like, I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I'm trying to justify the cost. And like, I'll be totally honest, when I was hiring people that whole year, I was not thinking about any of those things. Like, I literally was like, all right, I see the bank. We're making money. Let's go. I need help here. Like, we can grow in this way. Like, that was literally all I was doing.
Wow.
For
That's
basically
crazy. That's crazy amazing that it's working out, because that could have backfired on you. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I can hear it that that it could have.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if this is the answer. Like, when people ask, I don't know if this is the answer that you want, but
this is the answer, though,
it.
right? Yep, I just did it. Well, you know what it is? There's a confidence that you have in yourself that you'll make it happen. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think I was just like, there's literally 0% option that I'm going to fail. Like, I just was like, no matter what, we will figure it out. Like, I feel like that's my outlook in anything in design. It's like, if we see something that could be complex, like, I'm just always like, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome to have that. Now, from a practical standpoint, the predictive index is not something that you can just go and do. Did you work with a recruiting firm that utilizes the predictive index? Did you buy a predictive index license for your own company? Like, how did you actually handle that?
Yeah, so we actually got lucky. One of our clients does it for, like, that's what they do for companies.
Okay.
And so we designed their office in 2020. And again, there was like 3 of us on the team, and they were like, oh, like, we could help you, for free, just take this test, it'll help you guys learn about each other. So we did it, like, the 3 of us, and then we just recently did it like 2 months ago with like all of us. And so my results were the same from 2 years ago, because they say basically, like, don't take it again, because the first time you take it's the most accurate. Except for like one portion of it, because it changes based on like how you are, how you're kind of like molding yourself at work at that time. But the main, like, the promoter part was the same.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, we use predictive index very closely here at WindowWorks. Both Eileen Hahn, my cousin, who is a organizational behavioral consultant, and Jessica Harling. Both of these women are hire and train recruiters, and they both utilize the predictive index. So it's a very, very valuable tool, especially as you're growing your team. And I find it incredibly valuable in managing the team and understanding the differences in the personalities and the way certain people, like, we tend to lead people and manage people and either inspire them or reprimand them, for lack of a better word, in the way that we would respond. But what I've learned very, very, very clearly is that, just because I'm going to take a reprimand a certain way, that's another personality is not. And just because I'm going to think that's an inspiring thing to say to somebody, another personality is not. And so, and the way you need to teach people. So it's been extremely helpful in learning to be a better manager, right?
Yeah, and just making sure that the role that you have them in actually matches like them and their work style and their personality.
Yes. And what I love is when you work with a consultant who is knowledgeable and educated with the predictive index, they also help you come up with the exact job description for the role. And that job description is literally designed with every word in it to call out to the type of personality that would be the most successful in that role. And it's so funny, because when we needed to hire a data entry clerk, a data entry administrator, here I fill out the predictive index on the ideal personality traits that would be successful, in my opinion, doing this work, and it spits out a profile, and then Eileen, does the wording for the job posting. And at this point, I was educated enough and had been down the predictive index road enough to know to look at it with a grain of salt. But I remember reading that job description, and I was like, if I ever came across that, I'd be like, working for this company is going to be like doing an SAT problem every day. Like, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, not a chance. But what was interesting is the 2 or 3 people that passed through the interview process, and I brought in, and the one woman that we ultimately hired 2.5 years ago, she's still with us. It was so funny because we sliced the job down specifically just for data entry. 15 hours a week, come in, put all this crap in the computer, and you're done. No answering the phone, no anything. And I'm thinking, who the heck is going to want this job? And so after I interview her and everything, and she just seems great and all, And I just said to her, I said, can I ask you what attracted you to answering the ad for this job? She goes, I just love to put information in computers.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I know. It's amazing. It's so important.
Isn't it
I mean, I think
nuts?
that's a huge part of, I mean, hiring.
Yes, right? Like you get the person who likes to do
Yeah.
it. And you can't imagine
Mhm.
somebody does if you're not that person, right, Caitlin?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So that's got to be, it's funny because I was excited enough to understand and see that at only 29 years old, don't mind me keep pointing that out because it's beyond my comprehension, that you run a team that large, but now to understand
Mhm.
that you run it thoughtfully and you've got the right
Mhm.
seats and, right butts in the right seats is very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So I also have a business coach,
Mm.
and I hired him around July of 2020. And so he was a huge part in just creating an organizational chart super early on. And it's so funny, we look back at it, that's 2 years ago, and it's like so ridiculous what we had. It makes no sense. And but it's just like the fact that we had one, and the fact that we were thinking about what kinds of roles we needed and like how to structure the organization. I mean, I remember looking at it and being like, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how to make this like a bigger. Like, I can't think of one person. and then it was like, oh, like, okay, how about this? And then it just kept evolving, and it's still evolving. Like, I feel like I'm changing it like every month now, and it makes so much sense, and it's like it's crazy. So
I love it. I just love, what I love is that all of us, I mean, I haven't met anybody yet that didn't have that feeling many, many times in their journey of expanding their team. That feeling of, I have no idea if this will work, or, you
yeah.
know what I mean? But many people don't say it. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you when they usually say it. When they're 40, 50, 60 years old and it's obvious that they were successful. You know what I'm saying? But for you to like share it now and just say, yeah, it isn't easy. And I didn't always have the exact plan, but the combination of having some advice here, you had the advice of the mentor in the GC, you have the
Mhm.
business coach, and then
Mhm.
also you have what's very, very, very critical is your belief in yourself that you will get whatever it is done. And I think
Mhm.
those are a nice little recipe in there for success. So,
Mhm.
how about actually managing a team that large on the day to
Mhm.
day, the week, the month? I mean, are we, you know, huge team meeting, multiple littler meetings? Are you in
Yeah.
meetings all darn day, all darn week? Like, how does your life look, and how do you work
Yeah.
that team?
Yeah. So now every Monday we have a full team meeting. So that's with everyone in the company except for typically one who's mostly on job sites as our foreman. So we have a full company meeting. We have an agenda. We basically kind of start with the calendar for that week, recap what's happening each day, who needs to be where. Then we kind of do a quick design recap, construction recap, procurement recap, and then I finish and I go over any press or news that's new, and then anything just like company wide that we need to go over, like training wise.
Wow. Okay.
So that's every Monday. We also then we break out and do individual team meetings. So then we have a design team meeting, and that's more when we're going over just like deadlines and priorities and kind of what each of us are working on. The construction team will meet. They'll go over, what projects we're wrapping up from a punch list standpoint, which ones we're starting soon, just kind of any open issues of current sites for that week. We don't have a procurement team meeting yet because we literally just created that third team as of like last week.
Mm.
So, because we kind of just had one person doing procurement, and so we just kind of had her within our meetings, and then now it's just because we've just been growing and have more more clients. We created like a whole product team.
Mm.
So I'm sure that will develop even more. And then we do leadership team meeting once a week. And so that's when me and two other my team members get together and we're just talking about the organization. We're talking about, looking at the chart. We're looking at all of our key responsibilities. We're looking at financials. And we'll meet with our business coach a couple times a month too, the three of us.
Are you running the traction model by any chance?
No.
Oh, I'm surprised. It almost sounds like you are. Have you heard of it?
No. So maybe I am and I don't know
Well,
it.
I have to tell you, I'm about to rock your world right now, Caitlin.
Okay.
I
Okay.
am. I am. Somebody running a company as large as yours at least has to do yourself the favor of reading or listening to the book Traction.
Okay.
Gino Wickman is the author. He's written Traction and Rocket Fuel. I think there might even be a third book. But I'm going to tell you that it sounds like the way that you describe it sounds like you might have been to exactly why I brought it up, right? But if you aren't, I guarantee you will find nuances in the traction method that you will probably just be able to layer onto what you're already doing and make your team even more effective.
Yeah. Well, our business coach does do like the EOS.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Model, so
EOS
it
is it.
like,
that's it. The EOS is traction. Oh, see, I knew I could hear it in there.
I just didn't hear that word.
Yes. EOS is traction.
Either way, I'm going to get this book.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So your business coach is running. Right. So that's it. It's the entrepreneur's operating system. And you can call it EOS or you call it traction, whatever you want to. What it is traction is the book about EOS, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no, that's hysterical. Because I told him, I'm like, oh, this sounds like traction.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. And by the way, we run traction here at Luann Nigara Inc. with 3 full-time employees and then contractors on the side. We run it. We're just starting it in the last 6 months. We've been doing it at WindowWorks. And so you don't have to be big or small to run an EOS system, you guys. But it's literally, becomes every company that I've ever spoken with that I've had the opportunity to actually get in their back end and have a conversation with them. The ones that have navigated from 2 million to 5 million and beyond, I would tell you with relative, it's not easy. So relative ease is not the right word, but relatively planned, I guess I want to say, or with relative to structure in doing it, I would tell you 80% of them have been able to accomplish that by running the EOS system. So
yeah, I mean, I even feel like the word traction is like, it makes sense because I feel like it picks itself up and like it keeps moving it forward. And like you almost don't realize it. You're just doing all these like little things, and then you realize, oh, everything that we just did is like the reason why everything's moving.
Exactly.
It's like crazy.
It is because it's a lot of balls in the air, right? To run a company of that size. That's a pretty remarkable. The other thing that I noticed about your company, Kaitlyn, is that it is extremely diverse. You've got Turkish, Native American, Black, Hispanic, Russian. I mean, you've got a very diverse team. And I'm curious, is there an initiative in your mind, like it could be even your personal ethic, that you want to have all different races and nationalities? Does it happen by accident? Where's that happening? Because that's pretty incredible there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think having a diverse team is just like, I think it's definitely a really important thing for me. I think everybody brings a different perspective to the table. I mean, whether it's even just like design and the creative side, or just like, their experiences they had growing up, or, in previous work experiences. Like, I feel like everybody just brings a different, viewpoint to the table. And so I think that's been a huge thing as we've grown. I don't think it was something intentional. I think it just kind of happened organically. But I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you say that, when you think about the different influences that all of these ethnic backgrounds have on the design process, right? Like there, it's like, whoa, yeah, that is something that would really open eyes and impact the different decisions that you make when you have all of these different backgrounds coming together. Yeah, interesting. Okay. And so the thing is that it wasn't by design, you said. It wasn't that it actually, okay, now it's time to hire, in this, ethnic group or whatever. But obviously there is a true, genuine part of you that is looking beyond race and color when you're looking for talents and what they're going to mean to the team. Is there anything that you could think of to share with others who maybe have not had the experience of hiring cross ethnicities or races or backgrounds?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure part of it too is also maybe where you live. Like, I feel like Arizona, especially during COVID, I just feel like so many people came to Arizona, and it's kind of, there's actually little amount of people in Arizona that are from Arizona.
Hmm.
So I think Arizona can be a pretty diverse place in itself. But I think, really we hire based on our core values, and our core values have, working as a team. That's like one of the most important things for me, is just like not being competitive with each other and just coming in and wanting to be a team, willing to be open to like learn something new. So maybe people that are, super flexible. And so maybe they've had, challenges that they've had to overcome, and it allowed them to just be more flexible and willing to learn something new. It could just be, a compilation of all of that kind of leading us towards just a more diverse team. I mean, I'm definitely open in all of that, and so I think that we kind of attract what we're looking for, So
I
yeah, they
love
might
it.
just gravitate towards our team.
It's a great role model, because I know in the industry, of course, we're consistently talking about, inviting everyone to the table and making sure that there's opportunities for all of our colleagues of color, or whatever the background, right? Like you've got Turkish, like you said, all the different backgrounds, not just people, not just black people, but all the backgrounds. But the thing is, it's one thing to open that door and look around when you're at, say, an organizational meeting. I think that's happening. I think at the ASID level, IDS, I think at the panel discussions, I think at all of these things over the last 2 years, you do see more and more diversity and inclusion. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't see it trickling down so much to the individual firms so much. You
Mm-hmm.
see? And, not that it doesn't happen anywhere, but by percentage, I think white firms are white, black firms are black, like blah, blah, blah. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can do, at least I will speak, at Window Works, we have a diverse team. Luann Igara Inc., I have a Latina woman, and it brings it does, to your point, it brings different sensibilities in. And I think that our next step on this is encouraging the individual design firm owners to look beyond the people who look like them, right?
Mm-hmm. Or even like, resumes. I feel like people can judge a resume without meeting a person.
Yes. Right. And discount certain things and not
Mm-hmm.
realize what might be hidden there that would be, a gem or something that you would maybe overlook. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So tell me, if we were to say, what do you think you attribute being able to, at only 29 years old, um, I know that you have that in you, that I will get it done attitude, and that you run your business. If you get a solid gut reaction to something, you believe in it and
Mm-hmm.
trust it. And I love that. And you listen to the show, that to me, that's listening to your inner goddess voice. And I love, love, love that. But
Mm-hmm.
is there a lesson in maybe a mistake that you've made, Kaitlyn, that you just picked yourself up, but the lesson would help somebody else? Or is there something that you would say to somebody, okay, it's, I might have not necessarily planned every step of growing the team to this large, but at this point where I sit, I can say these are some of the key things that enable me to manage a team this large, or to be, I don't know what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've definitely learned a ton over the last, couple years just growing the team. And I think a lot of it is making sure that I'm keeping my mind open and being flexible. Like, I think there were times where I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. Like, once we hire this person, we're going to have this system. It is what it is. We're going to have it figured out. That person can do this, and then trying to keep that structure, even though there's reasons why it should change. I feel like I like let go, and I was just like, I got to see, like, even though we just made this process a month ago, let's change it, because now we have this outlook. Now we have this other type of, referral that we're starting to get, and that changes this process. Let's create another process. And so I think it was more just like making sure my mind was open to like adjust as the business was changing,
Mm.
instead of just trying to put something in place and then telling the team like, okay, that's what we decided, like this is what it is. Like, actually letting the team know, like, hey, let's embrace this change because this is amazing. Like, the reason we're changing so fast or changing things all the time is because we're growing. And so I think as long as people know, like the team knows that that's why, we might change a process, and instead of people feeling annoyed, like, oh, well, we just implemented that, I was just getting used to it. Like, it's like, hey, this is why we're changing it. This is, this is going to help us, and this is why. And so I think like just making sure everybody on the team knows, like, obviously when you hire that many people that quick, everyone's role changes because you're creating an entirely new role most of the time, and that person is taking responsibilities from other people. And so we're all, changing our own processes. And so I think for a while I was trying to almost like reassure the team to be like, everything's good, like this and that. And then I realized, hey, we're going to keep it like this for a while. And then I'm like, that's not true. Like, I shouldn't do that to myself. And so then I was finally like, hey, we need to all get on board with each other and understand that we're growing. I mean, we've doubled our team in the last year. Like, that's crazy, and it's amazing. And that's why we're changing things. And so, I think that's been a huge part, is just to make everybody feel like they understand what's going on and why. At those weekly meetings, I'm updating everyone on even like our conversations we're having as a leadership team, so that they understand what's going on too, and they feel like they're a part of it and they're involved. I think we touched on the predictive index and just hiring the right people for the role, but I did it in the past where I hired someone and I realized it wasn't the right fit for the role. And I mean, it could even have taken 6 months, and I thought things would get better, and it didn't. But I loved that person. I knew they were a cultural fit for the team, and they had all of our core values. And so I moved them into a different role and hired someone else for that, and now it's like incredible, and they're both so happy. So I think that's it too, is just like making sure that you do have people in the right role. Like, if there's something that they're not doing great at, and you've, talked to them multiple times about it, like, again, maybe there's a reason, maybe that role is not really aligned with their skill set. So I think it's, we've moved people around all the time. I think I look at it more as like a sports team. What does the team need? What is, like, instead of just trying to look at that individual and be like, well, we just started that, I don't want to move them. Why don't you just look at it as a team and be like, hey, this is what the team needs. I think it would be best if we tried you over here and we brought someone in for that. Like, I think it's like a constant, like, Tetris.
It's interesting because we use, and the last several years, the culture of business is to call your company the team members as opposed to your employees, your staff, or whatever, but to actually look at it as a team, right? Like, to your point, right? Like, you show up today, it's like, no, you're not playing shortstop today, sweetie. You're playing second base. Get over there.
Yes, 100%. Like, everybody has to know they could come into the office the next day and be like, hey, we need you over here today, And like, so then we have to understand that we need to hire people that are okay with that, because there's some people, and it depends on the role. Like, I would definitely say there's some roles where they, pretty much stay within that role, just depending on what it is. But we need people to be flexible at this point in time when we know we're changing so much. And so if someone needs to come in every day and know exactly what they're supposed to do every single day and have a checklist, like, that's not going to work.
Right.
Like, we need people that can come in and I can be like, hey, scrap that thing we did yesterday. We got to go this way.
Right.
And them being like, all right, let's do it.
And I got to believe, of the 15 or so people on your team, there's probably at least a third of those positions that are checklist positions that are not going to change, that you're not going to switch their seat, right? Because there are some types of people and some types of roles that's critical. But not your point is that others can be a little bit more fluid. And I also, what I heard in there too is, you might stay in the same role, because this has happened with WindowWorks over the last 3 years as we've grown so much. The role is the same. The actual job description is the same. The responsibilities are the same. But the way you execute it and how you interact with others in the company changes as we add more people. And that's what I have found that we're constantly addressing. It's like, oh, this was a specific job. This job was done this way for, 25 years. When you finished it, it went to this role. So it's like looking at roles, looking at as opposed to people. And it went to this role, and from that role, it went to this role. Well, now when the company got bigger, there's two people in between. And so now instead of going from this person, it goes to this role, then to this role, to this role. And that, I found, to your point, would trip people up. I'd be like, I know it doesn't go to Vinny now. Now it
Yeah.
goes to, Joanna,
Yeah.
and then Joanna does
Oh
her
yeah.
thing, and then it goes to Vinny.
Yeah, and I feel like I constantly call those things out, like, because as soon as we make that decision, okay, here's the process. If I see someone has done it an old way, or they're not, if we've decided, hey, this person's going to handle that, I will be like, hey, reminder, this person's handling that.
Right.
Like you have to make sure that it's being followed, otherwise shit's all over the
Well,
place.
that's it, because then half the people are doing it the new way, the other half are doing it
Yeah.
the old way, and then that's when the stuff falls through the cracks, right? Because the accountability is gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And something else I thought of too, just, in terms of growing a team, is also, I think, just having really open communication with everyone on the team. So, like, when we hire someone new, we do a 30-day, 60-day, and a 90-day check in with myself. So, after 30 days, it's just, I mean, at that point, it's pretty early. So, it's kind of just like a check in on how they feel like things are going. 60 days in, okay, they're starting to get a little bit more into the role. And then 90 days, it's like, okay, where are we at? How are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think I can't imagine not doing those, because I think that allows you to just have, a time that they feel like they can be super open about things. It gives you an opportunity to, if you've seen something that you're like, that could be a red flag, like that might not work here,
Right.
that personality trait, or, that particular work style that you're seeing for that role. And you can let them know at that point and be like, hey, I'm seeing this, and they can either, I feel like they either step up and they're able to, kind of identify it and see like, okay, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Or that's when you kind of realize like, all right, this is either not the right role or just not the right company for them.
Well, and I think really the big thing that I'm hearing in there is that by establishing the 30, 60, 90, you're establishing the open communication. You're establishing that I'm in a regular basis, you're going to have me sitting here looking at your eyeballs, and we're going to have a talk. And this is going to instruct you by example that I'm accessible, that I expect us to be open and honest with each other. And, what I find is when you do it that way, then it used to be way before Eileen taught me have weekly, monthly meetings with your people. It used to be that when I would say, hey, I used to say, come take a walk with me.
Yeah.
And Kim always tells the newer employees, back in the day, if Lou said, let's take a walk, you knew you were in trouble.
Oh my God. It's so funny. Everyone on my team's like, am I getting fired? I'm like, wait, can we just talk? Like, how are you doing?
Right? But when you
It's so
come in,
funny.
because now the last several years, we do this more. Hey, let's have a little check-in. Like I'll just like my office is next door to WindowWorks, and we've been onboarding 2 new salespeople for the last couple of months. And every once in a while, I'll just walk over and I'll be like, "Hey, you got 10 minutes?" And I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't think they get the fear of God in them when I say that, because I think they're accustomed to me just saying, "Let's have a check-in," and I sit down in the showroom with them, and it's like, "How's it going?" You know what I mean? And the thing is, what that reminds me of, when I was raising my kids. It was like if you say to a middle school girl, particularly, even a boy, I imagine, at, I don't know, you're in the mood to talk. It's 2:00 Saturday afternoon. You're the mom, you're in the mood, and you're like, so how's everything? They're like, how's everything what? Right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, how are your friends at school going? You know what I mean? And I could just picture it, like if I had done that to either of my teenage girls, they'd be like, right? But instead, I had conversations every day. I literally was like, I will be the one to pick you up from school every day, because that car ride home was where, if they were having a meltdown, was going to happen. And so I didn't need the official, every, 20 weeks, how are you doing talk, because I knew how they were doing. And then when there was the big things, it was much easier to do it. And that exactly works with employees as well, right, Kaitlyn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Like I think if you notice something, like you said, even if it's not, your scheduled check-in, like just check in, so that they know you care about them. And I think I've learned that too. And I think it was really just something I didn't realize I was doing. I think it kind of came naturally to me as I was growing the team, is that I feel like I work for my team. You know what I mean? Like it's like a weird, like I don't feel like people, I don't know. That's just genuinely how I feel. Like I feel like I'm looking at the organizational chart for my team. I'm looking at where can they grow? How can I provide opportunities for them? What are their goals and how do I help them get there within this company? Like,
Mm.
how do I make this the most amazing experience for them, whether it's long time or, whatever it is? I feel like I'm not looking at myself and being like, I need someone to work for me in this way. Like, it's just like, how do we continue to grow? Because I think obviously I grow, but all of my team grows individually, and then it helps us all grow together as a team.
Amazing, amazing. What do you see for the future? Do you have any either specific or just sort of wispy dream goals for, like put yourself, 25 years from now, you're mid
hmm
50s. Are you out of design? Are you in it still? Do you have like, world domination on the plan? Like, where are you
Yeah.
at?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I will always be, I mean, I will always be in design. I can't imagine anything else I would do with my life, but it'll definitely be in a different, capacity. My day to day would be different than it is now. Um, I love to travel. We travel a ton, but I would love to travel and design, whether it's like boutique hotels or, boutique restaurants or coffee shops. Like I'd love to get more into commercial interior design, kind of all over. I really want to write a book on how I take inspiration from interiors and national parks, like nature that I visit, and how I bring it into our projects.
Mm.
So that was like a super cool, just thing that I definitely know I'll do one day. We're moving into a bigger office right now, so we're really excited about that. But I think one day, we've all talked about we want to design and build our own building and have kind of this like community building that has a coffee shop where anyone can come and have work meetings. That will have our own decor shop that will have custom items that we've designed, and then our design build firm in the back.
Wow.
So that's something that we really want to do. And then we also sort of launched a custom lighting and furniture line, which would kind of be going along with that decor shop in our future building called Sift Collective.
Mm.
So Sift is the Swedish word for intention. And so we've started designing and fabricating some different custom pieces that we've installed in our iconic client projects. And so we're kind of just using all that photography, and eventually we'll do some small collection drops of just, custom lighting, bathroom vanities, and just anything around the home, fun stuff.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, it's funny because on one hand, I'm not at all surprised that you have a little list, right? Sometimes I ask people that and they're like, well, I just want to keep growing. You know what I mean? Like, which is great because you don't always think about it. I think everyone
hmm
should take some time to think about where they see their future going, whether or not
Yeah.
you change your mind along the way. Of course, you're allowed to, but you can't
hmm
get where you don't intend to get to. But it doesn't surprise me that you have a list. It'll be fun to watch to see which of these, if all of them, that you make happen and realize. It'll be pretty cool to watch. So I got to
Yeah.
tell you, you're an amazing lady. You really are. I know that we could talk forever on just picking apart other parts of your business, but I just you know this aspect of growing and managing a team is not for the meek of heart. But the
hmm
couple of things that you mentioned, that you have a mentor, you have a business coach, you run the EOS system, you're not winging it. That is the thing. And that is the
hmm
takeaway for everybody is sometimes you talk with a business owner and they're like, I just can't seem to get it together. And it's like, well, what are you doing? You're doing the same thing you did
hmm
yesterday? Like you're not,
Yeah.
getting out of the lane and doing something different, right, Kaitlyn?
Yeah. Actually, one quick thing we did like a couple weeks ago, we sent out a 30-question anonymous survey to the whole team,
Mm.
and they had to answer all of these questions about the company completely anonymously so they could answer whatever they wanted. Some was multiple choice and some were like typed responses. And I think that was super helpful, actually. I mean, the nice thing is I felt like a lot of what they said were, weak points were things that I felt like I was very aware of and things that I know we're working on. But it definitely, I think it helped me. It actually helped me put things more into like drive that I maybe felt like, I can like hold off. Let me move this down on my list a little. It helped me, like, it kicked me into gear and I like got so much stuff done since then.
Is there one or two little somethings that you can think of that you would be willing to share of like what, maybe something like you said, something that you sort of felt like needed a change or an improvement and then others did too? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, so our CRM system, we we were using Monday.com for, I don't know how long, a little over a year. And we all just knew like it was not working for what we needed it to be. It was just way too much manual entry. It wasn't actually creating, just like organized tasks or anything like that. So we bought a new program over the summer, Reich, around, I think, June. And literally from June until this past weekend, we didn't have it rolled out yet. And so we've basically been working the last 4 months off of a spreadsheet, like the whole design team. I've just been putting in everyone's tasks on a spreadsheet. And I knew it wasn't sustainable, but I couldn't find the time to get everything into the system, set up, because we had a lot set up, but it wasn't until this past weekend that I finally went in and assigned everything, assigned all the due dates, made sure everything made sense. And we came in Monday at the team meeting and I trained everyone on it. And it's been, 2 days, and I'm like, oh my God, this changed everything. But like, I feel like I kept putting it at the bottom of my list. And then it's like, in the survey, it's like people are having trouble, communicating with each other, or they're having trouble knowing, how to prioritize their tasks. And it's like, that was why.
Interesting.
So I think it just helped me. Yeah.
Well, what's so interesting about that is that as the CEO of this big company, I can see how you'd be like, oh, we got to get off of Monday. We got to get off of Monday. We got to get, and it's just like, okay, there's other more important things to do. But when you see that your employees are affected by it in such a negative way, even if it's just morale, right? And also from a technical standpoint, not knowing what the priorities are, all of a sudden it's like, okay, so basically if I have to duck out of this business for 2 days and put my head down and do all of this, they're going to be fine with it because they want this done.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to them being like, hey, I want you guys to take more accountability for your projects, but it's like, that's the tool they need,
yes.
To do that. And so it's like, we always say we have to work on the business, not just in the business.
Right.
So, and that's the most important part.
And I'm going to get emails. What was the name of the system that you switched to?
Reich, WRIKE.
Never heard of that one. That's a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it more because it works with the construction aspect of your business as well? Is that because I've never heard it in the design business?
We actually got co-construct for the construction team. So it's actually just essentially task management for the design team. And then we also have like our marketing initiatives in there and like client onboarding stuff and operation stuff.
Oh, I'm afraid for Diana to hear this. She's going to hear this. She's going to hear this, and she's going to be like, "Oh, what's right?" She has had us from Asana to Trello and now to Monday because she's always looking for the next thing. And of course, for my level size business, Monday has been amazing. But I guarantee you, she's listening right now and she's thinking, "Yes, I am, Luann. I'm looking it up."
I've just found in the program, once you get your template set up and you've assigned everything, there's so many ways you can look at the workload. Like there's different dashboards you can look at, there's Gantt charts you can look at the whole team's workload. There's just so many different like ways to look at reports of what everyone's doing, and I think that's been super helpful for me.
Interesting. Well, I have to tell you, you're a very special lady. You're a hashtag smart lady. That's what you are, Kaitlyn. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today and for sharing your experience. And I'm sending you a virtual high five on the things that you are creating. Good for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
So, are you half as amazed as I am by Kaitlyn? I mean, it's one thing to see a business grow and expand and to see it doing it well, but it's another to have that peek behind the curtain and understand what's really happening, right? First of all, every bit of Kaitlyn's education and experience working in the field with interior designers, architects, and general contractors impacts the way she does business today, and it propels her decision-making at Iconic. I just love that she's fascinated by the construction side of things. She wants to know how everything is built and installed. And not only does she want to know this so that she can understand and collaborate with builders, but also so that she can be a better designer. And ultimately, it makes her a better businesswoman, right? The other thing that's intriguing is that early on, Kaitlyn said there was 0% option to fail. Have you felt like that ever? Right? She knew if she just kept going, she would make it. And I'm convinced that confidence like this is a key component in anyone's success, and it was in Kaitlyn's as well. I mentioned it in our interview, but the statement that reminded me of it, that she said, it reminded me of that Nate Berkus show, episode 433. And I bring that show up a lot because it is worth listening to if you are a passionate creative, but if you are also, and I hope you are, serious about the business side of things too. Kaitlyn admits that this whole thing could have backfired, but she never gave up. Instead, she just continued to set herself up for growth and success. Wondering, how does that hit you? Do you feel like, yes, that's me too? If it is, yay, right? Kaitlyn not only trusted her gut, but she also sought out advice from a mentor and a business coach. And that business coach encouraged her to run her business on the EOS, or the Entrepreneur Operating System. We've talked about this a couple of times before in the past. Vicky Sereni runs her business off of that. Laura Umansky runs her business off of that. Many of you do. And if you've not heard about it before, the book is called Traction by Gino Wickman, and we'll put the link in the notes. This book explains how to structure your business using EOS, and I have to tell you, it's a game changer. In exciting windows, many of our businesses are operating on the EOS system. And here's the thing. Kaitlyn understands that she needs to be flexible and willing to change within her systems and structures, not to toss them, that she has to have them, but it's important to be flexible and to understand what works best within your team, okay? And I love this adaptability. This conversation, that piece of the conversation there about adaptability, reminded me of my interview with Andrea Highsmith. That was in interview 663. And Andrea talked about striking a balance between flexibility and structure when it comes to reaching your goals. I love that episode too. Terrific lady. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It'll be in the show notes. So the other thing, through all this rapid growth, Kaitlyn was able to expand her team organically, but with intention, because every new hire is made within the business's core values in mind, right? This has helped her form a team that is not only incredibly diverse, but is also thoughtful and responsive to the changes in the company. Her leadership style prioritizes communication. So she holds weekly meetings. She checks in with new employees at the 30, 60, 90-day marks, and she addresses any red flags as they happen. And she even sends out anonymous surveys and uses the predictive index to understand what motivates each employee individually. This stood out to me. Kaitlyn is wise beyond her years, and she says that she works for her team, not the other way around. She's willing to put in the work and the discipline to make sure it is working properly from the inside out. Very commendable, right? Now, if you are also interested in building your team with intention after hearing from Kaitlyn, which I'm sure you're probably intrigued at the very least, go back and listen to both of our Power Talk Friday shows featuring Eileen Hahn. In episode 363, Eileen breaks down what it takes to curate a team of exceptional employees. And in episode 589, she shares her expert advice on hiring, retaining, and leading employees while taking on the monumental tasks of scaling your business. Okay. She's also been a co-author in both of the Power Talk Friday books, which you can get at luannigara.com/book, 2 separate chapters on team management and leadership there. And on her website, eileenbhahn.com. She has tons of resources to help you grow and lead your team. Hiring toolkits, videos, blog posts, lots of resources. So if, how can you not be intrigued by it, right? By having a company where everybody is sitting in the right seat, everybody feels valued. You as the leader have an intrinsic knowledge of the things that matter to them, and that you know that when you look across the table, that they're doing the thing that they were supposed to do, and that you're giving them all the support in the doing of that thing, right? Not easy, believe me. It's something you strive for every day, but you don't get there if you don't even put some time and energy behind it, right? So thank you tons, Kaitlyn, for sharing this look into your growth while it's happening in real time. I have to say, it's a lot easier to look back on a successful career and pick apart what worked and what didn't. That's pretty much my first book was The Making of a Well-Designed Business. At that point, probably 35 years in business. And I took a look back. What did we do that worked? What did we do that didn't work? What were the lessons? What were the gifts that we brought that we didn't even know was a big deal at the time? That's not so hard to look back and see. But to be able to pick it apart in real time when you're in the thick of it, well, to have that kind of perspective is remarkable. I mean, incredible, really. So, Kaitlyn, thank you. Thanks tons for the insights that you brought us today. All right, and thank you for joining me. You know how much I appreciate that you show up. I have to say, if you are one of the lovely, lovely people who recently left a review for the show, I want you to know thank you. I do go to iTunes every couple of weeks, and I read every one, and I appreciate you tremendously. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.